At the 2015 Paris Climate Summit, world leaders pledged to restrict global warming to no more than 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. But those promises are not being matched with policies, according to the United Nations Emissions Gap report published Tuesday. It warns that new commitments to reduce emissions made in the run-up to the Glasgow summit, known as Nationally Determined Contributions, or NDCs, will reduce greenhouse gases by just 7.5% by 2030 compared to previous pledges. Restricting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius would require emissions cuts of 55%.
So far we have heard lots of political support for enhanced ambition of mitigation, but the concrete pledges have still been missing. And at the moment we are heading towards 2.5 to 3 degrees warming rather than 1.5 to 2 degrees.
So what does that mean for the planet and for humankind? Scientists say climate change is already increasing the frequency and intensity of heat waves. A recent report from Chatham House calculated that globally heat-related mortality has increased by nearly 54% among the elderly since the turn of the century, reaching 296,000 deaths in 2018.
We expect around about 400 million people to be experiencing heat waves to the extent that they're no longer able to work outside.
Heat waves and droughts would have a big impact on global food security. Crop failures and the increased prevalence of pests and diseases, such as the locust plague in East Africa last year, would lead to soaring prices.
Over the next 30 years, about 50% more food is going to be required due to more people being on the planet, but also expectations around eating more meat, particularly in countries like China and Southeast Asia and so on and so on. But at the same time, under our assessment, we anticipate yields, harvests, to decline by around about 30%.
Warmer temperatures lead to more intense tropical storms and flooding. Longer term, melting ice caps will lead to sea level rises, putting coastal cities at risk. Extreme weather fluctuations also mean more intense and more prolonged droughts. Scientists say richer nations must deliver on their 2015 promise to help poorer nations pay for combating climate change and deal with its impacts.
The big cascading impacts that we see coming out of drought, heat waves, agricultural drought, are migration, food insecurity for everyone, and the increased prevalence of pests and diseases. So there's a vested interest for those wealthy countries to ensure that the climate finance, that $100 billion per year that's been pledged for some time, since Paris and before, is actually delivered upon. And it's not being delivered upon at the moment.
As world leaders prepare for Glasgow, the stakes for our planet and for the human race are getting higher, the impacts close to irreversible. Can a new global agreement be reached to slash emissions well beyond current commitments? Summit host, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, gave his assessment Monday.
I'm very worried because it might go wrong, and we might not get the agreements that we need. And it's touch and go. It's very, very difficult.
Scientists say the outcome of the Glasgow summit will likely affect each and every one of us on a warming planet Earth. Henry Ridgewell for VOA News, London.